World-breaking news: China strives to increase influence in the Middle East. Welcome to Eagle News Channel. During a trip that is rumored to have been planned with the intention of pushing China as an alternative to the United States in the region, Chinese President Xi Jinping flew to Saudi Arabia and met with a number of Middle Eastern officials. Following the visit of Chinese President Xi Jinping to Saudi Arabia, China and Saudi Arabia released a joint statement on December 9 reiterating the significance of maintaining stability in the global oil market. China appreciates Saudi Arabia's role as a balancer and stabilizer for the world oil market and as a reliable oil exporter to China, the joint statement said. China welcomes Saudi Arabia's role as a balancer and stabilizer for the global oil market. After concluding a number of deals with Saudi Arabia, the president of China joined other leaders from the Middle East to take part in the China Gulf Cooperation and Development Summit as well as the Arab Summit on Cooperation and Development. This landmark event was held for the very first time in China. Since being re-elected General Secretary of the Communist Party of the nation in October, the Chinese leader has been making a series of shuttle diplomacy moves, and this is the most recent one. Over the course of the last month, he has met with more than 25 heads of state from a wide variety of nations. Distinct countries. On December 6, the spokesman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry, Mao Ning, stated that the Arab-China Summit was being convened to start a new era. He also stated that she would seek support from the Arab world for China's global development and security initiatives. In stark contrast to the warnings that U.S. Vice President Joe Biden has delivered to Thailand, President Xi Jinping will have the opportunity to demonstrate throughout the summits that China is a reliable and trustworthy ally. During his trip to the country in July, Saudi Arabia's de facto ruler, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, also known as MBS, was on display. According to Michael Singh, who was formerly the Senior Director for Middle East Affairs at the United States National Security Council and the Executive Director of the United States National Security Council, China sees the Middle East as a place where it can make a name for itself as a great power. Observations made by the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. Robert Jordan, who served as the United States ambassador to Saudi Arabia in the past, believes that the difficult relationship between Washington and Riyadh is analogous to a slow-moving shipwreck, and that we should not be astonished when we witness the results. The conferences that are taking place in Saudi Arabia present an opportunity for Beijing to enhance its economic and political influence in the Middle East. This comes at a time when the administration of Vice President Joe Biden is shifting its attention and resources to address China's ascent. China in the region known as the Indo-Pacific. In response, the administration of Vice President Joe Biden is making efforts to warn Middle Eastern nations that there are indications that China is coming closer to them. Last month, the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy in the United States Department of Defense, Colin Kahl, stated that Beijing is not interested in mutually beneficial alliances. He issued a stern warning that China's intentions in the region were solely based on its own interests. A comparable action was taken by the White House the previous week. John Kirby, a spokesman for the United States National Security Council, has stated that what China is doing is entirely in their own interest, going so far as to be against the interests of the countries they are dealing with. Positive indications reportedly emanated during Xi's trip to Saudi Arabia, and many believe that these signals indicate that Washington has paid a certain price in order to withdraw from Riyadh. The severe criticism that the Biden administration has directed towards Saudi Arabia with regard to issues of human rights and the war in Yemen has put an end to any revived dreams of a more cooperative future between the two countries. According to Pelam Kine, an analyst for Politico, the fact that President Biden wants to restart the nuclear deal with Iran, a regional foe of Saudi Arabia, further alienates Crown Prince MBS from the United States. After the Middle Eastern nation leading OPEC Plus decided to cut oil production, despite Washington's request to pump more oil into the market, tensions between the United States and Saudi Arabia continued to escalate to an unprecedented level. The tensions between the two countries have now reached a level that has never been seen before. After the decision was made by OPEC and its allies, President Biden voiced his disapproval of Saudi Arabia, stating that Riyadh stands with Moscow in the situation in Ukraine. "What they do together with Russia will have some ramifications," he said. "There will be some consequences." In the meantime, there is a rising cynicism in the Middle East over the long-term viability of the United States' commitment to the region, which is causing them to pay more attention to the alternatives offered by China. According to Jordan, we are seeing both the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia talk more about defense cooperation with China because there are signals that the United States is not willing to live up to its defense commitments. For a very long time, China has been supplying Saudi Arabia with various pieces of technology and military hardware. These supplies have primarily consisted of equipment that the United States has been unwilling to export for fear of igniting a regional arms race. However, the process of Riyadh decoupling from its security relationship with Washington will be very difficult because it is still dependent on U.S. weapon platforms, such as the THAAD missile defense system and main battle tanks. This will make the process of Riyadh decoupling from its security relationship with Washington very difficult. M1A2 Abrams or a multi-role combat ship, either one will do. An analyst by the name of Kine claims that the current government of Vice President Joe Biden is clearly concerned about the increasingly intimate relationship that is developing between longtime allies Saudi Arabia and China. In an opinion piece that was recently published in the Washington Post, Vice President Joe Biden made the case that enhancing relations between the United States and Saudi Arabia is necessary to put the United States in the best position to surpass China. China's reliance on Saudi oil serves as a foundation for the relationship between the two capitals of Beijing and Riyadh. The year 2016 marked the beginning of a strategic alliance between the two nations, which was associated with solid long-term energy cooperation. This firm handshake was worth it. The value of two-way trade between the United States and Saudi Arabia was around $24.8 billion in comparison to the estimated $87.3 billion value of trade that took place between China and Saudi Arabia in the previous year. Don Murphy, an associate professor of national security strategy at the National War College and an expert on China-Middle East relations, stated that economic considerations alone will not be enough to motivate America's Middle Eastern partners to engage more intimately with Beijing. Arab countries, including Saudi Arabia, do not want to choose between the United States and China, and Beijing does not seem to want to strengthen its security role in the region or get involved in disputes. Here, Arab countries, including Saudi Arabia, do not want to choose between the United States and China. He said. According to seasoned U.S. diplomats, Beijing will not be able to take Washington's role as the guarantee of regional security so long as China keeps tight connections with Saudi Arabia, which is China's most bitter foe. Iran comes to mind. The purchase of Iranian oil by China has assisted Tehran in maintaining its economic lifeline, and the two countries also signed a 25-year cooperation pact in December of last year with the intention of strengthening trade and bilateral collaboration. Robert S. Ford, a senior scholar at the China Institute East in Washington, provided the following commentary: China can't truly safeguard the Gulf states from Iran, and the only country that can help immediately if there is a possibility of conflict with Iran is the United States. Support the channel by like and share the video. Don't forget to press the subscribe button and the bell to receive the latest news. Thank you for watching.